The first time Emma Carter saw Adrian Blake, she swore he was the most arrogant man she had ever met. He walked into the university debate hall like he owned the place, his confident strides echoing against the marble floor, his eyes sharp and calculating. Emma had been preparing for weeks for this debate, the final competition of the season. And then, there he was, standing across the stage, her rival, her enemy, the one person she could not stand. Adrian smirked at her across the podium. "Try not to embarrass yourself, Carter," he whispered as they adjusted their microphones. Her cheeks burned. "Worry about yourself, Blake. I'd hate to crush your ego in front of this crowd." And so it began, a clash of words, ideas, and tempers. The debate was fiery, intense, and at times almost personal. Emma argued with passion, Adrian countered with icy logic. By the end, the judges declared Adrian's team the winner, but Emma knew she had given him a fight he wouldn't forget. From that moment, the rivalry between them was born. Rivals at every turn. Over the next semester, Emma and Adrian crossed paths everywhere, in lectures, study groups, and competitions. If Emma raised her hand in class, Adrian was quick to challenge her point. If Adrian presented an idea, Emma found a flaw. Their classmates began to whisper about their constant sparring, some amused, others secretly entertained by the tension that seemed to hang in the air whenever they were in the same room. One afternoon in the library, Emma was buried in her notes when a shadow fell across her table. She looked up, annoyed. "Adrian, you're sitting in my spot," he said flatly. Emma arched an eyebrow. "Your spot? Last I checked, the library isn't reserved seating." He leaned closer, his voice low and teasing. "Maybe not officially. But everyone knows this is where I work best. You might want to move." Emma refused to back down. "Guess you'll have to find a new lucky seat." "I'm not moving." Their eyes locked, neither willing to give in. Finally, Adrian smirked and sat directly across from her. "Fine," he said. "We'll share. But don't distract me with your mediocre study habits." Emma rolled her eyes but felt an odd flutter in her chest. She pushed it down quickly, convincing herself it was just irritation. The forced partnership. Fate, however, had its own plans. A month later, their professor announced the final project, a comprehensive research paper and presentation, in pairs. Emma's heart dropped when the names were read. Emma Carter and Adrian Blake. The room buzzed with whispers. Even the professor chuckled lightly, knowing their reputation as rivals. Emma turned to Adrian. "This is a joke, right?" Adrian's lips curved into that infuriating smirk. "Looks like you're stuck with me, Carter." Working together was a nightmare at first. Emma's passion clashed with Adrian's calculated methods. He wanted precision, she wanted creativity. He worked late into the night, she preferred early mornings. Every discussion turned into an argument. One evening, after hours of bickering in the study room, Emma slammed her notebook shut. "This isn't working. You're impossible." Adrian leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Funny, I was about to say the same about you." They glared at each other, frustration simmering in the silence. But then, slowly, Adrian's expression softened. "Look," he said quietly, "we're not going to succeed if we keep tearing each other apart. We both want to win. So maybe, we try a different approach." Emma blinked, surprised at his calm tone. "A truce. For now," Adrian agreed. "But don't get used to it. Cracks in the walls." As the weeks passed, the tension between them shifted. Arguments turned into discussions, and their late-night study sessions began to feel less like battles and more like conversations. Emma discovered that beneath Adrian's arrogance was a sharp wit and a surprising sense of humor. He discovered that behind Emma's fiery passion was a determination and kindness that intrigued him. One night, while working on their presentation slides, Emma's laptop froze. She groaned, burying her face in her hands. "This stupid computer hates me." Adrian chuckled, sliding his own laptop toward her. "Use mine. Yours probably just can't keep up with how fast you type." Emma peeked at him, startled by the unexpected kindness. "Thanks, I guess." Their hands brushed briefly as she took the laptop. Neither of them pulled away immediately. A strange warmth lingered in the air, unspoken and undeniable. The first glimpse of something more. The night before their presentation, Emma and Adrian stayed at the library until it closed. As they walked out together, the campus was quiet, the lamplights casting soft glows across the empty pathways. Emma shivered slightly in the cool air. Without a word, Adrian shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She blinked up at him. You didn't have to. I know, he interrupted softly. But I wanted to. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Emma saw something different in his gaze. Not arrogance. Not rivalry. Something gentler, almost vulnerable. Her heart skipped a beat. She quickly looked away, but the image of that look stayed with her long after they parted ways. The presentation. The next day, their presentation went flawlessly. They moved in perfect sync, finishing each other's points, backing one another with confidence. When the applause filled the room, Emma couldn't help but glance at Adrian, who gave her a rare, genuine smile. Afterward, as they packed up their things, Adrian said, "We made a pretty good team." Emma smirked. "Don't sound so surprised." He laughed softly. "Maybe I underestimated you. Or maybe you finally realized I'm better than you," she teased. For once, Adrian didn't argue. He just looked at her, his eyes lingering in a way that made Emma's stomach flutter again. The breaking point. Despite the growing warmth between them, neither dared to admit what was happening. Their pride and fear held them back. But everything changed at the university gala, a formal event where students gathered to celebrate the end of the semester. Emma arrived in a flowing navy dress, her hair curled elegantly. She felt slightly nervous, until she saw Adrian. He stood across the room in a tailored suit, looking devastatingly handsome. His eyes found hers almost instantly. She quickly looked away, trying to ignore the way her pulse quickened. Later that night, Emma overheard Adrian talking to another student, a girl who giggled too loudly at his jokes. Emma told herself it didn't matter, he could flirt with whomever he wanted. But when she caught him smiling at that girl the same way he sometimes looked at her, something inside her twisted painfully. She stepped out into the garden to get some air, her emotions tangled. A few minutes later, Adrian appeared behind her. "You left," he said softly. Emma kept her back to him. "Didn't want to interrupt your fun." He frowned. "What are you talking about?" She turned, her eyes flashing. "You know what. Why do you always have to make me feel like this?" Adrian froze. "Like what?" "Like I hate you and want you gone, but also like," her voice faltered. "Like I can't stop thinking about you." The confession slipped out before she could stop it. She covered her mouth, horrified at her own words. Adrian's expression softened. Slowly, he stepped closer. "Emma," he murmured, "do you think you're the only one?" Her breath caught. "I tried to fight it," he continued, his voice low, raw. "I told myself I hated you, that you were just my rival. But the truth is, you're the only person who's ever challenged me, who's ever seen through me. And I can't ignore it anymore." Before Emma could respond, Adrian cupped her face gently and kissed her. The world seemed to stop. The rivalry, the arguments, the walls they had built, all of it melted away in that single, breathtaking moment. From enemies to lovers. After that night, everything changed. Their friends were shocked when Emma and Adrian began showing up together, studying side by side, sharing quiet laughs, walking hand in hand across campus. Of course, they still argued, but now, their arguments ended in laughter, or in kisses stolen between classes. Their relationship was a dance of fire and tenderness, sharp edges softened by the love they had discovered in each other. One evening, as they sat together on the campus lawn, Emma leaned her head against Adrian's shoulder. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked softly. "Regret what?" "Falling for your enemy." Adrian smiled, pressing a kiss to her hair. "Not for a second. Because you weren't really my enemy, Emma. You were just the person I had to fight hardest to find." Her heart swelled, and she smiled against his shoulder, realizing that love, the kind that burned so brightly, was worth every battle. Epilogue. Years later, when Emma and Adrian stood together as partners, not just in life, but in their careers, they often laughed about their first debate. "Remember when you swore you hated me?" Adrian would tease. Emma would grin. "I still do sometimes." But then, with a sparkle in her eyes, she would add, "And I love you even more." And that was the truth. Their love was born from fire, from rivalry, from the sparks of two souls colliding. Enemies to lovers. Hatred to love. A journey that made their bond unbreakable.